Sometimes the greatest teachers don't give us answers. They give us experiences that forge the questions into our hearts so deeply that when the answer finally comes, we don't just understand it, we become it. I know this because I lived it. My name is David, and many years ago, when I was just a foolish teenage boy, I and three of my close friends encountered an old man whose riddle would consume us for 2 weeks. What you are about to hear is a true story, not about being handed wisdom, but about why so much of what we learn never seems to change anything that truly matters. It's about why knowledge can leave us informed yet unchanged, why effort can leave us exhausted yet unsatisfied, and why we can do all the right things and still feel quietly empty. It's a story about desire, about why the things we chase rarely fulfill us, why satisfaction never seems to last, and why knowing the applauded right things so often fails to transform the way we live. It's about the quiet suspicion many of us carry that there is a way of living more fully, more truthfully, but we somehow missed the key. This is the story of 4 teenage boys who began with arrogance and mockery and were slowly confronted with a truth that demanded more than curiosity, more than belief, more than words. A truth that asked something of us and quietly redirected the course of our lives. But it started with cruelty, with mockery, with 4 boys who thought they had found the perfect victim for their entertainment. The afternoon sun beat down mercilessly as we 4 boys approached the old man's weathered wooden door, trying desperately not to laugh. Marcus elbowed me in the ribs. "Keep it together, David. Look serious." We had rehearsed this perfectly. Dressed like spiritual seekers, put on those earnest, searching faces, ask deep questions about God and enlightenment, then watch the old fool stumble over his words. It would be hilarious content for later. The door creaked open slowly. The old man stood there, his eyes clear and penetrating despite his age. Deep lines carved his face like a road map of decades lived in silence and contemplation. He wore simple clothes, almost too simple, as if material things had stopped mattering to him long ago. "Welcome," he said softly, his eyes carrying an unexpected warmth that made Marcus' neck falter for just a second. But he didn't invite us inside. Instead, he gestured to a small balcony that jutted out from the side of his house, barely more than a wooden platform with a railing, exposed to rain, sun, and cold. "We will talk here," the old man said, settling into a weathered chair. We exchanged glances. What kind of host doesn't invite guests inside? I thought. Probably afraid we will rob him of something. We shrugged and sat on the rough wooden floor of the balcony, still suppressing grins. Then, without thinking, just wanting to get the ball rolling, Marcus blurted out, "What's the difference between the student and the master?" The silence that followed felt heavy. The old man didn't pause, didn't stroke his beard thoughtfully, or buy time with meaningless words. His answer came instantly, as if he had been waiting his entire life to speak it. A student does more and more to achieve less and less, but a master does less and less to achieve more and more. I blinked. The smile died on my lips. Wait, what? The others shifted uncomfortably. That wasn't the rambling non-answer we had expected. It was sharp and precise, like a blade that had just sliced through something we couldn't quite yet see. "But what does that even mean?" I asked, my voice betraying genuine curiosity I immediately regretted showing The old man smiled gently. Not today. Come back tomorrow if you wish to know. And just like that, we were dismissed. Walking home, we were unusually quiet. A student does more to achieve less, James muttered, kicking a stone down the rusty road. A master does less to achieve more. That doesn't make sense. It's just game words, Marcus said, but his voice lacked conviction. Old people love that cryptic garbage. But that night, lying in bed, I found myself staring at the ceiling, turning the words over and over in my mind, like a Rubik's Cube I couldn't solve. More efforts, less results. Less efforts, more results. How is that even possible? By the next morning, all four of us were back at the old man's door. Earlier than we had planned. Earlier than we wanted to admit to each other. The old man welcomed us to the same balcony with the same serene expression, as if he had known we would return. Please, I said, and there was a tightness in my chest I didn't understand. What did you mean yesterday about masters and students? The old man's eyes twinkled with something that looked almost like affection. You will figure it out, he said simply, but in time. Frustration bubbled up in Marcus' throat. Then, answer another question. How do we see the face of God? The old man leaned back in his chair, and for a long moment, he simply looked at us. Really looked, as if seeing past our teenage bravado into something deeper. I will show you, he said finally, at the mountaintop. Our eyes widened. Can we go now? James asked, sitting up straighter. Not yet, only when you are ready. How do we get ready? My voice cracked slightly. When you solve the answer to the first question, the difference between a master and a student. We left feeling like we had been punched in the gut. 2 weeks passed. 2 entire weeks of the Riddle gnawing at us during meals, during classes, during every quiet moment when our minds should have been elsewhere. It became a fire in our minds that refused to be extinguished, growing hotter, more insistent, more unbearable with each passing day. The change in us didn't go unnoticed. Have you seen David lately? Our classmates whispered. He just sits there, staring at nothing. James hasn't cracked a joke in days. Something is wrong. Our parents asked questions at dinner. Our teachers pulled us aside. But how could we explain? How could we put into words this strange obsession consuming us from the inside out? So we began asking others casually, carefully, as if it were just philosophical curiosity. At lunch, I would lean back and say, you ever think about, the harder you try at something, sometimes the worse you get at it? Then I'll watch their faces, hoping someone will understand, will unlock the puzzle. But nothing. Marcus tried a different approach at his soccer practice. My cousin told me this thing, that masters barely try, but accomplish everything, while students exalt themselves and get nowhere. Weird, right? His teammates shrugged. Maybe it's about working smarter, not harder. But how? Marcus wanted to scream. That wasn't it. It wasn't about efficiency. It was something deeper, something that felt like it was vibrating just beyond our ability to grasp it. James approached his older brother one evening. If you had to explain the real difference between someone who has mastered something and someone still learning, what would you say? His brother laughed. Experience, obviously. Time. Practice. Why? James turned away, frustration burning in his chest. Nothing. Never mind. Each answer we received felt hollow, incomplete. Like looking at a photograph of food when you are starving. It has the shape of what you need, but offers no substance. 2 weeks of this torment, 2 weeks of restless nights, of waking at 3 a.m. with the puzzle rising in our minds like a heartbeat. 2 weeks of watching each other grow quieter, more withdrawn, more haunted. On the 13th day, "I blame you," James said, his voice barely controlled as he cornered Marcus after school. "Why would you have to ask such a stupid question?" It was just supposed to be funny, Marcus shot back, but his voice cracked. His eyes were red-rimmed from lack of sleep. "I didn't know you. This isn't funny anymore," I shouted, and there was something desperate, almost wild in my eyes. Something fundamental had shifted in all of us. What had started as a cruel prank had become something else entirely. A genuine, aching, all-consuming need to understand. The kind of need that follows you into dreams and greets you when you wake. The kind that makes food taste like ash and laughter feel impossible. By the end of the second week, we could barely function. When we returned to the old man's house, we weren't smirking anymore. Our faces were drawn, exhausted. We looked like people who hadn't slept properly in days, because we hadn't. The old man still wouldn't give us the answer, still wouldn't take us to the mountaintop. But something in his expression had softened, as if he recognized a change in us. That's when James, quiet James, who rarely spoke, asked the question that would change everything. How can we become like you? Holy, only interested in goodness and truth. How does one actually find God? For the first time, the old man chuckled a warm, genuine sound. "I learned how to find God from my master," he said, his eyes distant with memory, "at the river. And ever since that day, I gave my heart completely to the divine, because I understood." The word river hung in the air between us. Our minds immediately leaped to the same place. Baptism. That had to be it, right? The sacred ritual, the moment of transformation when everything becomes clear. "Can we go there?" Marcus asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "To the river." We expected another riddle, another delay, another test. Instead, the old man nodded. "Yes, but prepare yourselves. The river lies beyond the mountaintops. We must climb over and through the forest to reach it." Before we left, we offered to help the old man with anything he needed. "Help me bring these chairs inside," he said simply. Inside? Into the house? The place he had never invited us before? We stepped to the door slowly, and what we saw stopped us cold. Nothing. The old man had almost nothing. One simple chair, a sleeping mat, a cup, a bowl, the absolute bare minimum to sustain life. Yet, the space felt full somehow, peaceful, as if the emptiness itself was a kind of presence. I felt my throat tighten. How can someone with nothing feel so complete? Walking home that evening, the excitement was almost unbearable. "The river," James said breathlessly, breaking the silence we had heard since leaving the old man's balcony. That's where his master baptized him. That's where everything changed for him. He said he gave his heart to God there, I added, my pace quickening despite my exhaustion. He understood something we don't yet understand. Marcus grabbed my shoulder, stopping me in mid-stride. His eyes were wide, almost wide with hope. Do you think we'll be baptized too? The possibility hung between us like lightning about to strike. For the first time in 2 weeks, 2 endless weeks of torment and sleepless nights, and questions that had no answers, the consuming fire of the riddle was joined by something else. Hope, anticipation. The electric feeling that answers were finally within reach. We spent the evening in feverish preparation, gathering supplies for the climb, choosing our clothes carefully, as if dressing for something sacred, discussing in hushed, reverent tones what baptism might feel like, what revelation might await us at the river's edge, what it meant to truly give your heart to the divine. Do you think it hurts? James wondered aloud. Does it matter? I replied. Sleep came reluctantly that night, and if it came at all. When it did, we dreamed of water and light and mysteries about to be unveiled. The next morning we met at dawn. The climb was easier than expected. A warm path spiraled up the left side of the mountain, evidence that others had made this journey before. At the summit, we spun in circles, searching. Where is it? Marcus demanded. Where is the face of God? All we could see was the valley below, trees, houses, light continuing as it always had. Disappointment crashed over us like a wave. Wait, I said. He never said it was this mountain. He said, over the mountain to the river. The old man, standing quietly nearby, smiled to himself. By the time we reached the river, we were exhausted, drenched in sweat, our legs trembling. We collapsed on the river bank, gulping water from our bottles. The old man sat calmly, gazing at the flowing water, as if reading a book written in its currents. At the mountain top, he said softly, "Did you see the face of God?" I felt anger flare in my chest, hot and sudden. "We saw nothing," I snapped, my voice sharp with frustration. "Just people, grass, regular life. Nothing spectacular." The old man remained silent, still staring at the river. After we had eaten and rested, Marcus said we were ready. The old man stood. "Okay, I'm ready to show you now. We will go one at a time. Who is first?" They chose me. The old man led me to the water's edge, out of the view of the others. He told the remaining boys to wait by a nearby shade. "When I'm finished with each of you," he said, "I will show you a path back to the village." One by one we went. One by one we experienced something that left us shaking. By the time the old man returned to his home that evening, 3 of us were waiting at his doorstep. Our faces were contoured with rage. Marcus was pacing like a caged animal. Jay's fists were clenched so tight his knuckles had turned white. My eyes burned with betrayal. Only one boy, the fourth, sat quietly to the side, his expression unreadable. The old man chuckled softly to himself, as expected. We stormed inside, our voices overlapping in anger. "How dare you? You tried to drown me. You held my head underwater. I couldn't breathe. I thought you were going to kill me. Is that how you teach? By murder?" The accusations flew like arrows. You never answered our questions, not one. The difference between master and a student, nothing. The face of God at the mountaintop, we saw nothing. "I think I know the difference now," one of us said bitterly. "A master is just someone who..." "Stop!" The old man's voice called through the chaos like a bell. Silence fell. His eyes moved from face to face. And when he spoke, his voice was barely above a whisper. "When you were in the river, pressed down under the water, what mattered to you most?" We froze. What was the only thing you wanted in that moment? My anger crumbled. My voice came out small, broken. "Air." "Air," James echoed. "Just air," Marcus whispered. The old man nodded slowly. When you want God that much, when the divine is the only thing you think of every day of your life, while you walk, while you serve, while you perform all your daily duties with love, then you shall find what you seek. The room fell into absolute silence. Slowly, one by one, we sank to the floor. I felt tears burning behind my eyes. The riddle, the mountain, the river, it all crystallized in my mind with perfect, devastating clarity. A student does more and more, trying everything, grasping at techniques and practices, accumulating knowledge, achieving less, because their desire is divided, scattered, half-hearted. A master does less and less because their desire is unified, pure, love, singular, like a laser burning through paper. Less action, more power. Because they want it the way drowning man wants air. At the mountaintop, we have seen the face of God. In the trees, the people, the life continuing below. God was everywhere. We just hadn't had eyes to see it. Until we were drowning. Until desire became absolute. I bowed my head to the old man, and the others followed. The fourth boy, who had been silent all along, finally smiled. He had understood from the beginning. Sometimes the greatest teachers don't give us answers. They give us experiences that forge the questions into our hearts so deeply that when the answer finally comes, we become it.